People always assume being a single parent means you're constantly surrounded by noise. It wasn't like that for me. Most nights after my daughter fell asleep, the house became so quiet it almost felt abandoned. I was 32 years old in the fall of 2021, divorced for just over a year. My daughter Lily had turned 3 that September. We lived in a small ranch-style house outside Fort Wayne, Indiana. 1 floor, 2 bedrooms, a detached garage, a narrow gravel driveway that ran beside the house and disappeared behind a line of pine trees. It wasn't much, but it was ours. Every weekday looked almost identical. I'd pick Lily up from daycare around 5:30. We'd stop for groceries if we needed anything. Dinner by 7, bath at 8, 2 bedtime stories, 1 glass of water, 1 stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. Lights out by 8:45. Then I'd clean the kitchen, fold laundry, answer emails for work, and finally sit on the couch around 10 with the baby monitor next to me. The monitor wasn't one of those fancy internet-connected cameras, just a basic video monitor with night vision. Reliable, simple, no apps, no Wi-Fi. I'd bought it specifically because I didn't want it hacked. Looking back, I wish I had something easier to explain. The first strange thing happened on a Thursday, October 14th, cold rain all evening. Around 10:20 p.m., I looked over at the monitor. Lily was asleep exactly where I'd left her. Blanket half kicked off, rabbit under one arm, then the screen flickered, just once, like static. It lasted maybe half a second. I assumed the batteries were getting weak. I plugged the monitor into the charger. Problem solved, or so I thought. The next night, it happened again. Only this time, the picture didn't just flicker. It shifted. For maybe 2 seconds. The camera seemed to be pointing somewhere else. Not at Lily's bed, at her bedroom door. Then it snapped back. I stared at it. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe the camera had glitched. Technology does weird things. Saturday afternoon, I checked the camera. It was firmly mounted on the bookshelf exactly where I'd installed it months earlier. No loose screws, no movement, nothing wrong. That should have been the end of it. Instead, things became harder to ignore. Lily started saying odd little things, not scary, just odd. One morning while eating cereal, she asked, "Why does the man walk outside my window?" I almost laughed. What man? The one who comes when it's dark. Kids say strange things all the time. Imaginary friends, dreams, cartoons mixing with reality. I asked what he looked like. She shrugged. I only see him walking. Does he come inside? No. She went back to eating cereal. I didn't think much about it until 2 nights later. Sunday, 11:47 p.m. I was halfway through a movie when I heard movement through the monitor. Not crying, just rustling. I looked over. Lily was sitting upright in bed, eyes open, facing the window. She wasn't saying anything, just staring. I walked to her room. By the time I got there, she was lying down again, fast asleep. I stood there for a minute, checked the window. Nothing outside except the yard light reflecting off wet grass. I tucked her blanket back around her and went to bed. Monday morning, she asked me why I'd been standing outside her room. I laughed. I came in. No. She looked confused. You were outside. I watched you. A cold feeling settled in my chest. What do you mean? You stood by the hallway. I came into your room. She shook her head. No. Kids mix dreams with reality. That's what I kept telling myself. Tuesday evening, I got home late because I'd worked overtime. It was already dark. As I turned into the driveway, my headlights swept across the side of the house. For just a split second, I thought someone stepped behind the garage. I parked immediately, grabbed the flashlight from my glove compartment, walked around the property. Nothing. No footprints, no open gate, no signs anyone had been there. Still, I started locking every window before bed. Wednesday night, I couldn't sleep. Around 1:30 a.m., I was lying awake when I heard something through the monitor. Not loud. A click, like someone tapping plastic. Then another. Click. Click. I picked up the monitor. The picture showed Lily asleep. Then, very slowly, the bedroom door moved. Not all the way, just enough to create a thin black gap. I sat straight up. I knew I'd close that door. I hurried down the hallway, heart pounding. When I reached her room, the door was closed, completely closed. I pushed it open. Lily never stirred. The room looked exactly as always. I even checked the closet, under the bed, bathroom, nothing. When I returned to my bedroom, the monitor showed the door slightly open again. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, because my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. I walked back, door still closed. I unplugged the monitor. The screen went black. The next day, I bought a second monitor. Different brand, different frequency. I set both cameras beside each other on the bookshelf. If one glitched, the other shouldn't. That Friday night, both screens showed the exact same image. Until 12:14 a.m., the older monitor flickered first. The new one stayed normal. Then, the new one flickered too. Both screens shifted toward the bedroom door, exactly together. Neither showed Lily anymore, just the door, standing open. I ran. I don't remember touching the hallway light. I don't remember opening her bedroom door. I only remember reaching her bed. She was asleep, safe, door closed. Again. I picked up both cameras, took them into the living room, set them on the coffee table. Neither ever glitched again that night. Saturday morning, I climbed a ladder and checked outside Lily's bedroom window. That's when I noticed something. The mulch beneath the window had been disturbed, not dramatically, just enough that someone had stepped there recently. One clear shoe print, large, definitely not mine. I called the police. The officer took pictures, asked neighbors if they'd seen anyone. Nobody had. He suggested installing motion lights and outdoor cameras, which I did immediately. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. I started feeling embarrassed. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe the footprint belonged to a utility worker. Maybe everything else had been stress. Then came Halloween. Cold, windy, lots of trick-or-treaters until around 9. By 11, the neighborhood was silent. Lily was asleep. I was cleaning candy wrappers from the kitchen table. Around midnight, the outdoor motion light came on. I froze. The backyard camera sent a notification. I opened the live feed. Nothing. The light turned off. 30 seconds later, it came on again. Still nothing. I grabbed the flashlight, looked through the kitchen window. Empty yard. Then I heard Lily laughing. Not loudly, just quietly. Through the baby monitor. I looked down. She was sitting up in bed, facing the window again. Smiling, I sprinted. By the time I reached her room, she was lying down, asleep, exactly like before. Except, the curtains were moving, the window was closed, no fan, no heat vent, nothing that should have moved them. I checked outside. The motion light illuminated the side yard. That's when I saw it. Not a person, movement. Someone running toward the tree line. Too fast to identify, gone within seconds. Police searched again. No one found. One officer walked farther behind my property than I ever had. I'm 60 yards into the trees. He called me over. There was a folding camping chair, old, weathered, hidden between 2 pines, facing directly toward Lily's bedroom window. Beside it, empty water bottles, snack wrappers, and cigarette butts. Someone had been sitting there, watching my house, for who knows how long. The detective believed whoever it was had been leaving whenever cars passed, watching routines, learning schedules, waiting. That explanation should have made me feel better. It didn't, because it didn't explain the monitors, or Lily describing someone before I ever noticed anything, or why the bedroom door kept appearing open. I sold the house 6 months later, moved closer to my parents. Different town, different school, different routine. Lily never mentioned the man again. She's 8 now. She barely remembers living there. Last winter, while unpacking old boxes in the basement, I found the newer baby monitor. I'd forgotten to throw it away. Curious, I plugged it into the wall. The camera battery was dead years ago. It couldn't possibly connect. The screen lit up anyway, just static. Then for less than a second, a picture appeared. Not my basement, not Lily's old room. Just the view of a dark bedroom window from outside, as if the camera wasn't inside a house, but sitting somewhere in the yard, looking in. Before I could react, the screen went black. It never turned on again. I threw both monitors into a dumpster the next morning. I still check my daughter's bedroom window every night before I go to bed. Not because I think someone's out there, because once someone really was. And I can never be completely sure they stopped watching. I was 19 when this happened. Second semester, spring of 2019. I was a sophomore living in a 4-story dorm at a large state university in Missouri. The building wasn't old enough to have ghost stories attached to it, and it wasn't run down either. It was one of those modern dorms with keycard access, security cameras in every lobby, bright LED hallways, and resident assistants who took their jobs way too seriously. My room was on the 3rd floor, room 317. I shared it with a guy named Aaron, completely different personalities. I stayed up late playing games or studying. He went to bed before midnight almost every night because he had 6 a.m. baseball workouts. It worked out surprisingly well. Most evenings followed the same routine. Classes until 3, the student union for dinner, the library from 7 until around 10, walk back across campus, shower, headphones on, sleep. Campus at night always had a strange feeling. Not dangerous, just empty. Thousands of students disappeared into buildings, leaving long sidewalks under yellow streetlights. You could walk 10 minutes without seeing another person. I actually liked it until someone started walking behind me. The first time happened on a Tuesday, late March, around 10:15 p.m. It had rained earlier, and the sidewalks were still wet. I was leaving the engineering building after finishing a group project. As soon as I crossed the parking lot, I heard footsteps. Not close, maybe 30 or 40 feet behind me. I glanced back. A student wearing a dark hoodie. Nothing unusual. Lots of people wore hoodies. I kept walking. So did he. I turned left toward the dorms. He turned left. Again, not weird. Same direction. Halfway across campus, I stopped at a crosswalk while waiting for traffic. The footsteps stopped too. I looked over my shoulder. The guy stood near a campus map, looking down at his phone. The light changed. I crossed. He crossed. By the time I reached my dorm, he kept walking past it. I forgot about him before I even got upstairs. Until Thursday, same time, same route, same hoodie. This time I noticed something different. He never looked at me, not once. His head stayed slightly down, hands in his sweatshirt pocket. Always the same distance behind me, never gaining, never falling back. It felt calculated. I mentioned it to Aaron. He shrugged. Probably lives near us. That was the logical answer. I accepted it. For about a week. Then my routine changed. I stayed late in the library on Monday because I had a chemistry exam. Didn't leave until almost midnight. The campus was practically deserted. I took a completely different route back. Instead of cutting through the quad, I walked past the football stadium, a route I'd never taken before. Halfway there, I heard footsteps again. Same pace, same distance. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. I started. They started. I turned around. The guy stood under a streetlight, dark hoodie, hands in pockets, face impossible to make out. I figured I'd finally end it. I walked straight toward him. The moment I did, he turned around, walked away, not running, just leaving. I stood there for almost a minute trying to convince myself I'd imagined the whole thing. The next morning, I laughed about it with friends. One of them joked, "Congrats, you have your own NPC." Everybody laughed, including me. The weirdness should have ended there. Instead, it got personal. A few days later, I found a sticky note on my desk. Aaron hadn't left it. It simply said, "You missed class Wednesday. Hope everything's okay." No name, no handwriting I recognized. The problem was, I had skipped my 8 a.m. calculus lecture that Wednesday. I hadn't told anyone, not even Aaron. I crumpled the note and threw it away. Someone was messing with me. College students pulled stupid pranks all the time. The next note appeared 3 days later, taped to my dorm room door. You study too late, nothing else. No signature. I checked with my RA. Nobody admitted leaving it. She assumed someone on the floor was joking. I wanted to believe that. Then someone knocked on our door at exactly 2:03 a.m. 3 knocks. Slow. Aaron slept through it. I opened the door immediately. The hallway was empty. Both elevator doors were closed. The stairwell door hadn't moved. Nobody. I checked both directions. Nothing. Just silence. When I came back inside, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. Wrong room. I stared at it for a long time. Then I called the number. Disconnected. The next day I reported to campus police. The officer took everything seriously. He asked if I had enemies. Recent breakups. Arguments. No. He suggested changing my routine for a while. So I did. Instead of studying until 10, I'd leave campus early. Instead of walking, I'd ride the shuttle. Instead of eating at the student union, I'd grab food off campus. For nearly 2 weeks, nothing happened. Then finals approached. The library stayed open 24 hours. I started studying late again. Friday, 11:38 p.m. I left with headphones on, halfway across the bridge connecting 2 academic buildings. I realized I couldn't hear my music anymore. One earbud had died. That's when I noticed another sound. Footsteps. Behind me. I didn't even turn around. I already knew. They matched mine perfectly. Step, step, step. I stopped. Silence. I started walking again. Step, step, step. I spun around. Nobody. The bridge stretched behind me. Empty. Completely empty. I hurried back to the dorm. For the first time all semester, I felt genuinely afraid. The following Monday, Aaron left early for baseball practice, around 6. I stayed asleep. At exactly 6:41, someone swiped a key card against our door. Once, twice, 3 times. The lock beeped red each time. Invalid card. I sat up instantly. The person stood there for maybe 10 seconds, then walked away. Campus security checked the access logs. No record, no failed entry, no successful entry, nothing. Electronic locks recorded everything, except that morning. The officer couldn't explain it. By now, my parents wanted me to come home for a few days. I almost did. Instead, I pushed through finals. Just 1 more week, then summer break, Wednesday night, around midnight. I was printing a paper in the engineering building. The printer jammed. Everyone else had already left. The whole floor was empty. While waiting, I looked out the 3rd floor window toward the parking lot. One person stood under a light pole, dark hoodie, looking directly at the building. He wasn't using a phone, wasn't smoking, wasn't moving, just standing there, watching. I stayed by that window almost 5 minutes. He never moved once. Then another student walked into the parking lot. The hooded guy immediately turned and disappeared between 2 parked cars, gone before the other student even noticed him. I called campus police from inside the building. 2 officers arrived within 4 minutes. They searched. Nobody. They asked me to walk with them back to my dorm. As we reached the entrance, one officer stopped, bent down, picked something up from the sidewalk. A student ID cracked, faded, the photo barely visible. Different university, different state, expired almost 3 years earlier. No connection to anyone on our campus. The officer pocketed it, said they'd look into it. Classes ended. Summer started. I went home. By August, I'd almost forgotten everything. Until move-in day. Aaron and I got the same room again. Room 317. When we unlocked the door, there was already a sticky note lying on my desk. Maintenance assumed another student had left it, except it said only 4 words. Welcome back. Same schedule? Campus police launched a formal investigation after that. They reviewed months of camera footage. They found me, over and over, walking to class, walking back, going to the library, eating lunch, hundreds of clips. Then they found something else, in dozens of recordings. The same person appeared somewhere nearby, not always close, sometimes across the quad, sometimes entering another building, sometimes sitting on a bench, always wearing different clothes, different backpack, different hat, but the same height, same walk, same habit of keeping both hands in his pockets. The detective showed me still images. I never would have realized it was the same person. He blended in perfectly, one frame out of thousands. The strange part? No camera ever captured him entering or leaving a residence hall. No student ID was ever used that matched him. No parking permit, no meal plan, nothing. It was as if he only existed between cameras. The investigation eventually stalled. No suspect, no arrests, no explanation. I graduated 2 years later, moved nearly 800 miles away, started working as a structural engineer. Life became normal again. At least I thought it had. Last fall, my company hired a new intern. First day on the job, we all introduced ourselves around the conference table. When it was his turn, he mentioned graduating from my old university. I smiled, asked if he ever lived on campus. Yeah, he said, 3rd floor dorm. I asked which room. He laughed, 317. The room went strangely quiet in my head. What year? He told me. It was the year after I graduated. Before I could stop myself, I asked if anything weird had ever happened there. He looked at me for a second, then smiled nervously. You too? I felt every muscle in my body tense. He reached into his backpack, pulled out a folded piece of paper he'd kept for years. It was yellow with age. The words were faded, but I could still read them. You study too late. Same message, same handwriting. He said he received 3 more notes that semester, always unsigned, always about places he'd been, things he'd done. He eventually transferred schools because he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following him. Neither of us had an explanation. Neither did campus police. I've searched online more times than I'd like to admit. I've never found another story connected to that dorm. Maybe there aren't any, or maybe the people who experienced it decided it was easier to stay quiet. I still have one habit from college that I've never been able to break. Whenever I leave work at night and hear footsteps behind me, I never speed up. I never look back immediately. I wait, I count to 5, then I turn around. Because once, someone knew my schedule better than I did, and part of me has never been convinced they stopped following it. I worked nights as a security officer at a small regional hospital in Western Pennsylvania during the winter of 2018. It wasn't the kind of place you'd ever see on television. 3 floors, around 60 beds, 1 emergency entrance, 1 main lobby. The kind of hospital that mostly treated broken bones, pneumonia, car accidents, and elderly patients who needed monitoring until they could be transferred somewhere bigger. Nothing exciting ever happened. Honestly, most nights were painfully boring. My shift started at 11 p.m. and ended at 7 a.m. Every hour I walked the same route: emergency room, radiology, laboratory hallway, pediatrics, 2nd floor patient wing, 3rd floor rehabilitation, back downstairs, outside perimeter. Repeat. I had done it so many times I could practically walk it blindfolded. The overnight staff all knew me. Michelle at the front desk always drank hazelnut coffee around midnight. One of the ER nurses, Daniel, constantly hummed old country songs while updating charts. Housekeeping usually waxed the 2nd floor hallway around 2:30 every morning. Everything followed routines. Hospitals survive on routines. That's probably why I noticed something that shouldn't have happened. It was February, cold enough that every breath outside looked like smoke. Around 1:18 a.m., I was sitting behind the security desk, watching camera feeds while eating crackers from the vending machine. One monitor covered the ambulance entrance. A white sedan slowly pulled underneath the canopy. It didn't look like an ambulance arrival, just an older Toyota Camry. The driver got out. He opened the passenger door, helped an elderly man stand. The old man moved strangely, not injured, just slow. Like every movement had to be remembered before he made it. The driver supported him all the way to the emergency entrance. The automatic doors opened. Both men disappeared inside. Normal enough. Except, nobody came to the registration desk. About 5 minutes later, I walked to the ER waiting room. Empty. The triage nurse looked up. "You lose something?" "I thought somebody just came in." She shook her head. "Nope." I pointed toward the entrance. "Older guy, white Camry." She frowned. "Haven't seen anyone." That confused me. The doors had definitely opened. The camera had definitely shown them entering. I even rewound the security recording. There they were, driver helping an old man inside, both entering. Then, nothing. No footage of them leaving, no registration, no treatment room assignment, no staff interaction, just gone. I figured maybe another entrance camera missed them. Maybe they'd wandered toward radiology. Maybe someone had already admitted them. Hospitals get messy, people move around. I forgot about it, or at least I tried. Around 2:40 a.m., housekeeping called security. "There's somebody on 3rd floor?" "What room?" "They're not in a room." I took the elevator up. The rehabilitation hallway lights were dimmed for sleeping patients. The floor smelled like disinfectant and fresh wax. Housekeeper Linda pointed toward the end of the corridor. "I saw someone standing there." "Nobody. Just empty hallway." "You sure?" "I watched him for 10 seconds. "What did he look like?" She hesitated. "Old man." Something in my stomach tightened. I walked the hallway anyway. Every room occupied, every patient asleep except one man watching television with headphones. Nothing unusual. As I headed back toward the elevator, I noticed wet footprints, one set, dark, leading across the polished floor. Bare feet. The strange part wasn't the footprints. Patients sometimes wandered. The strange part, they stopped. Not faded. Stopped. Halfway down the hallway, as though whoever made them simply vanished into thin air. I crouched beside them. The floor was completely dry after the last print. No continuation, no turning, nothing. Housekeeping blamed poor mopping. I wanted to believe that. At 3:11 a.m., dispatch called. "Security to loading dock." A delivery driver reported someone walking behind the dumpsters. I grabbed my flashlight. Outside, snow covered everything. Fresh snow. No footprints except mine and the truck tires. The driver pointed toward the fence. "He was standing right there. There aren't any tracks." "I know." He looked embarrassed. "I swear somebody was there." He left quickly after unloading. I finished the perimeter. Nothing. When I came back inside, Michelle waved me over. "You know that old Camry?" "What about it?" "It never left." "What?" She pulled up another camera. The parking lot feed. The car was still parked beneath the emergency canopy. Driver's door closed, lights off, nobody inside. We both stared. "Maybe they're visiting." She checked patient records. No visitors signed in. She called the ER. Nobody knew anything. Finally, around 3:40, I went outside. The Camry sat exactly where it had been. Thin layer of frost already forming across the windshield. License plate from Ohio. I shined my flashlight inside. Empty. Keys missing. Seats cold. No bags, no jacket, nothing. Just an old pair of reading glasses on the dashboard. I wrote down the plate number, called local police non-emergency. The dispatcher ran it. Registered, no warrants. Owner lived nearly 90 miles away. She asked if there was an emergency. I honestly didn't know what to tell her. "There's just an abandoned car." She said an officer would stop by when available. He arrived around 4:30. We walked together, except the Camry wasn't there anymore. Neither of us understood. I checked every parking lot camera. The vehicle never drove away. Not once. There wasn't even footage of someone entering it. It simply appeared until 4:02. Then, on the next camera refresh, gone. The officer assumed the recording skipped. I knew it hadn't. The timestamps were continuous. He left. By then, I just wanted sunrise. Hospitals feel different between 4 and 6 in the morning, almost peaceful. Machines beep softly, coffee starts brewing, night staff get quieter. Everyone waits for daylight. Around 5:15, I finished another patrol. 2nd floor, cardiology wing, near room 214. I heard footsteps, slow, dragging, 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. I followed the sound. It stayed around the corner, always just ahead. Every time I turned another hallway, silence. Then it started again farther away. Eventually, I reached the physical therapy room. Empty. The footsteps stopped. Standing there, I realized something. The hospital was completely silent. No ventilators, no televisions, no nurse conversations, nothing. Just silence. Then every sound returned at once. Phones ringing, monitors beeping, someone laughing downstairs, like someone had pressed play again. I stood frozen for several seconds. Later, I convinced myself I'd zoned out. Stress does strange things during overnight shifts. At 6:40, the morning supervisor arrived. I handed over my incident report. He skimmed it, raised an eyebrow. "You know something weird?" "What?" He pointed toward the old vehicle report. "That Ohio plate. What about it?" "I've seen that number before." He disappeared into the office, returned with an old binder, security incidents, years of handwritten reports. He flipped until he found one from same license plate, same white Camry, same story, arrived overnight, old man escorted inside, neither person ever found. Vehicle disappeared before police arrived. Different security officer, different staff, same report, word for word. I laughed, not because it was funny, because it didn't make any sense. The supervisor wasn't smiling. "You never heard about this?" I shook my head. "They told us not to talk about it." "Why?" "People start seeing connections where there aren't any." "What happened?" He shrugged. "No idea." I asked to borrow the report. He refused. Hospital records, confidential. A week later, I searched public records anyway. Found nothing. No missing persons, no newspaper articles, nothing. Months passed. Eventually, I transferred to another hospital. Life moved on. Then almost 4 years later, I met Daniel, the ER nurse, at a gas station by complete coincidence. We talked for a while, caught up. Before leaving, I asked him if anything strange had happened after I transferred. He got quiet, then asked me one question. "Do you remember the old guy?" Every hair on my arm stood up. I nodded. Daniel stared toward the highway. "They finally figured out who owned the car." "What happened?" "The owner died." "When?" He looked at me strangely. "About 6 months before you ever saw him." I waited for him to explain. He never did. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, he got into his truck, rolled the window down. "Oh," I looked over. "They found those reading glasses." "What reading glasses?" "The pair from the dashboard." I felt my stomach drop. They turned up inside a locked supply closet during renovation. I asked where. He only said, "Third floor rehabilitation." Then he drove away. I've never gone back to that hospital. I still work security. Different building, different city. Every winter though, especially around 2 in the morning, I'll glance at whatever parking lot camera I'm watching. Just for a second, looking for an old white Camry. So far, I haven't seen it again. I'm not sure which possibility scares me more, that I eventually will, or that someone else already has.